Hey y'all, Kevin from Mindset. Hey, not really sure how I feel about doing this video today, but I'm doing it. What this video is a walk around of the 57 F-100 because I'm putting it up for sale. So, today is October 17th, 2021, and I've been him-hawing around about selling this thing for the last several months. Well, ever since shortly before Louisville. I kind of joked around with some people and told some people it was for sale. Don't know if I was really serious or not, but you know, I guess I've just kind of decided, or been trying to decide, is it time to let it go, let somebody else take it to its next level, take it on more of a journey, or just drive it as is? I don't know. But is it that time? I don't know. So I made this compromise with myself, me and myself, and I just decided I'm gonna put it up for sale for a month, and if it sells, it was meant to be, and if it doesn't, it was meant to be. So here it is. It is October 17th, and this truck is for sale until November 17th. It's a good compromise. I give it 30 days, and if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a 1957 F-100, short bed, two-wheel drive, obviously. It's got the original 272 V8, original 4-speed. So, I bought it 10, 11 years ago from a guy over by Buckner, Missouri, Levacy area. Quick summary of the history of the truck. Didn't look like this when I got it. It was a long way off from this when I got it. So, it was a Department of Forestry truck, U.S. Department of Forestry in Colorado. Sorry about the sun glare, guys. I pulled it out here so you could get some good video of it. And so it came from Colorado. Like I said, Department of Forestry. Mid 60s, I believe. It got sold in a GSA sale. The guy I bought it from, it was his wife's uncle that bought it at that GSA sale. He was, I guess, the second owner of it. And after he passed away, he left it to his niece, which was the guy I bought it from's wife. And the guy I bought it from flew out to Colorado, did a little bit of tuning and mechanical stuff to it, and drove it home to the Kansas City area from, I think it was the Denver, Colorado area. So it was originally a dark green color, and the guy that bought it at the GSA sale, the uncle, he had it painted like a baby blue. And what you're seeing is a result of the green underneath and the baby blue pretty much fading away. You can tell on the hood that tells the story. So when the uncle drove it back, he made it all the way into Missouri, into the Kansas City area by the Chiefs Stadium, and the battery, which used to be right there on the firewall, had vibrated loose and fell over and caught fire. That is what that came from. The uncle, after he got the fire put out, didn't do much but melt some wires. He ended up getting a different battery, and he drove it home. He put this red primer, brushed this on after that because the paint was kind of burnt on the hood. But there was a cluster of wiring that used to go along the top there. And for many years when I drove it, it was still like that. It was just kind of melted and patch repaired. So he drove it home, and they had it for quite a long time. 2010-ish, 2011 is when I bought it from him. So it sat around their farm for quite a while. Used for hauling wood, gravel, loaning it to his family for different things. So he thought at one point they should sell it. The wife said, no, absolutely not. I'm not selling my uncle's truck. Long, sad story later, she ended up passing away, and it sat in their back field for quite a while. And he eventually said, I got to get rid of it. It's just going to rot away out here in this field. So I was the lucky guy that stumbled upon it probably first. And I wasn't sure if I wanted it at the time. It wasn't what I was looking for. I was actually looking for a mid-50s International pickup. So I went out to look at it just to see it, and I kind of fell in love with it, but I still wasn't sure I wanted it until I called Justin from Hindsight and was telling him about it while I was looking at it. And I told him how much the guy wanted and what it was, and he said, dude, if you don't buy it, I'm coming to buy it. So I went ahead and bought it, thinking that, yeah, I'll take it, and if it doesn't work out, sell it to Justin or whatever. I don't know. We got it running, and it drove up onto the trailer, and the rest is kind of history. I've had it since. Done a lot of work to it. If you look at our channel, go back, you search Hindsight Engineering, and there's a lot of videos on it of different things I've done to it, and that was mostly with just within the last year. So here's the gig. There's a shot of the interior. I just put that headliner in before we went to Louisville. Seats out of a mid-90s Suburban. It's the second row seat out of a mid-90s Suburban. The wiring is all redone. Cam from Hindsight did the wiring, and many other things to it. It's got new carpet in it. I did a video on that separately about that install and wasn't the happiest with it. And you can kind of see it's a little short on the sides. But overall, the truck is pretty solid. It's got its rust issues. It's a 1957. A little bit there. It just doesn't have a bunch of rust through. There's a little bit in the cab corners. I mean, the cab corners are rusted along the back. The bed's pretty solid. It's got dents and stuff. It was used. The frame has been C-notched in the back 5 inches. This wood cover was just my way of covering up, being able to see that. But I C-notched it. The rear end is now sitting on top of the springs. Those are 17-inch tires and wheels. The wheels are Dodge Steel 1500 wheels, probably from mid-90s Dodge truck. 17 by 7s, I believe they are. Cam put the clips on so I could run those center caps, those Ford center caps, which I think are from a T-Bird, a 57 to 60 T-Bird. I put the bumper on it, front bumper on it a long time ago, and just smoothed it, and you can tell there's no bolt holes, no bolts showing. They're all studs welded on the back. Had a white grill when I got it. I just blacked it out. I decided to black out everything on it. Don't beat me up on that. The chrome was shot, guys. And you can tell if you look real close at it. I just sandblasted all the chrome and painted it. It has 4-wheel disc brakes all the way around now. That battery is no longer there. Obviously, it's relocated. It has its own little home up under here. It's right in underneath there. I actually have it out today because I'm going to hook the heater back up. It's starting to get cool. And when we had the engine out before we drove to Louisville from Kansas City, I didn't hook the heater up because I didn't want any more hot air in that cab that was already going to be in it. It does not have air conditioning, obviously. So I didn't want any hot air flowing through the cab. We knew it was already going to be in the 90s when we took that drive. So, but this is what it is. Had a when I got it, it had a giant spotlight on the roof. Still have the spotlight if you want it. Have to dig it out. But this is it's got a Champion aluminum radiator. The original radiator finally took a crap several years ago, so I just did this cold air intake thing for the Louisville drive. Try to make it cruise down the highway a little bit better. It drove to and from Louisville pretty flawlessly. The only problem I had the whole time in Louisville, really significant problem, was I put a spin-on adapter so I could run a regular spin-on oil filter, and the big round gasket from the adapter to the block let loose, and it started dumping oil out of there. Luckily I caught it when I was backing out of the driveway from the rental house down in Louisville. I backed out and I looked in the driveway, and there was a bunch of drips, and so it didn't hurt anything obviously, but I had to spend a few hours working on it that day. It took me longer to find the part than it did to do the repair. So it's got a Holley 500 2-barrel on it. Pretty new. Just put it on before the Louisville trip. Yeah, before the Louisville trip, I think. It got 15 miles to the gallon driving to and from Louisville. Like I said, pretty flawlessly. It's got LED brake lights and turn signals. Just not to be special, but to the original lights were just basically junk, falling apart, and those LED lights that are in there are just the average run-of-the-mill ones that you can buy at a truck stop. Perfect size, perfect fit, right into the factory holes. So worked out good. Those are not original. Those must have been an add-on from the Department of Forestry, as were, they used to have hooks that came out and they had them bolted to the side. They're still on the tailgate actually. Hooks like that all the way down the bedside. They used to strap things over the bed, I'm assuming. Still has a spare tire holder right there. I put new glass in it before Louisville. All the door and back glass are new, smoked. The windshield, I believe, is original. I resealed it. It's got all new weather strips. Back glass, windshield, door anti-rattles, all new weather strips. So that's a good deal. It's pretty quiet. I insulated up before I put that headliner in, so that did great. Driving to Louisville, had it out and just drove it. I don't know, maybe put 100 miles on it the weekend of the Front Yard Nationals last weekend. No problems. Again, ran flawlessly. So it's pretty reliable. It has a SIDS drop axle in the front, 4-inch drop axle, and I've yanked some springs, so I don't know how much total drop, but as you can see, it's fairly low. It drives pretty good. The only thing it really needs right now needs a little work on the gearbox, the steering gearbox. It was dry. I never checked it, and it was pretty much bone dry. I put some fluid in it. It's leaking out. It's just loose, so it's got adjustment on it. I don't know if some adjustment would do it or not. I was thinking about trying to make it a little bit more drivable. It had a ton of bump steer in it, because that 4-inch drop axle gave me a ton of bump steer, just like Sid told me it would. He's the pro. But we worked most of that out by doing some mods and some massaging to the steering arm and stuff. But it's still got a little bump steer. I live out on some crappy roads, so you get a little bump steer on these crappy roads. But I also live pretty close to 50 highway, and once you get on 50 highway with this thing and all the regular main roads, it does great. It drives great. I don't know, couldn't really ask for more. Put a 308 rear end in it. I had this other rear end out of another 57 that I had bought a rolling chassis for, so it was in there. It was a 308. It had a 392 gear in it, and man, it would not go down the highway without just screaming. So, and I had some even taller tires on it then. But this 308 does great. I can cruise 70 mile an hour down 50 highway. I cruised 65 to 70 all the way over to Louisville in it, and no problem. So it's a good truck. It's a solid truck. It's a 57, which, as you know, if you're interested in a 57 Ford, it's the one off here. It's the only one that has this front end with the 2 headlights and not the 4. 57 was the first year of this body style. It went 57 through 60 of this body style, but 57 was the only year with that front end. And they're pretty, I don't know, the grills and stuff are sought after. Of all the years of 57 to 60, 57, in my opinion, is the best looking front end. And I think that was one of the things I fell in love with originally on this truck when I first saw it, sitting out behind that guy's barn, was just the look of the front end. And just, you don't see them around. There's not many of them around in this area anyway. So it is now for sale for 30 days. If you have any interest in it, email me at killerbeescustoms@gmail.com. It's bees with a Z. killerbeescustoms@gmail.com. You can always comment on this video if you have any questions, but you're best off, I don't always check that stuff, so you're better off just to email me directly. Again, killerbeescustoms@gmail.com. So 30 days, and the price is the price. $15,000 is what it's going to take to buy it. If you don't like it, my apologies. Move on. If you don't like it, you can always send me an email. I know how to, I got a delete button. I know how to use it. But 15K buys it. If you want it, let me know. If you don't, I can understand that. It's not for everybody, and I know the price isn't for everybody, but it's what it's going to take for me to sell it, and that's just the way it is. So for 30 days, it'll be that way, and if it doesn't sell, it wasn't meant to be. As far as what it needs, like I said, some work on that steering gearbox. Oh, needs to finish off. The windshield wipers work. I've only got one on there right now because when you put a lot of pressure on it, it skips the linkage, where the linkage hooks to the motor. The motor arm, the shaft, has like a flat spot on it, and it's started rounding off. So I'm sure that can be fixed, or you could just buy a new motor. Once you bolt in the new motor, should be fine. It works in a pinch, but sometimes it skips and then it gets out of sync, and so I never drive it when it's raining anyway. Had it on the ready just in case on the trip to Louisville we run into any rain or anything. I don't think we ever did anywhere in Louisville, so I got the windshield all Rain-X down. Drove it in the rain a little bit coming back from Springfield, actually this time last year. Ran some rain on the way back, and Rain-X on the windshield was fine, because actually it wasn't even working at all then. So this is it. Tires are new. I say new. Maybe have 2,000, 3,000 miles. Maybe 4,000 tops. One thing I did want to point out, and I can't verify this, but I've had pretty much every bolt loose on this truck. And this is why I kind of feel that this might be correct. That odometer, you can't see it, it says 75,117. I can't verify it, but I kind of believe that it's real. It's also got new door weather strips. Did a video on that too. They open and shut really nice. But that mileage, I don't know. I kind of strongly believe that it might be original. I don't think it's turned over 100. I really don't. I don't think it could be 175,000. Just because, like I said, I've unbolted pretty much every bolt on this truck and have never had a problem loosening a bolt on this truck. When I pulled the engine earlier this year to seal it up, that's all we did to it. Even the exhaust manifold bolts came right loose. So, like I said, I can't verify it, but something to keep in mind. The inside of the engine looked great. We put a timing chain in it. and Felpro gasket kit in it and put it back together. There's a whole video on it. If you go to Hindsight Engineering, HYNDZYTE, spelled oddball, Hindsight Engineering, go to videos and you can scroll through. There's a lot of videos on this truck. But I do want to, complete disclosure. We did seal it all up and put it back in, and it still leaks. It's a 272. It's leaking a little bit still from the rear main. A couple other leaks underneath there, so if it sits in your garage, you will see some spots underneath it. But we tried. But I did not repaint the engine when I put it back in. You'll see that in the video. So what you see is what you get with this truck. Got a clean title on it in my name. 15,000 could be sitting in your driveway, in your garage. That's pretty much all I got on it. Any questions? killerbeescustoms@gmail.com. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching.